somewhat. Ornament. The ornamented sun of your copper thing skewers butterflies with rays, so that four-petaled iron blossoms are strung along a wire from the center, which is a tiny holy face, maybe an elf or a baby, which hovers in the negative space as though a mouth talks out of the solar embodiment, chiseled utterances encrusted with time's decor, grimy with diminishment, so that my arm falls off, barrette on the skull of the cosmic swirl in this black box of night. Handmade rhinestone buttons are stars over Red Hook. The road outside of this room is a terrible gray ribbon all the way to the city's spires and fetishes, spores, lyres, and hydroponic lettuces. Rose Hotel. In the room with crimson curtains, feel contiguous as sleep is traveling and the train is a bed. And when clothes fall, a truer self stood in the black room, looking at the lit yellow station. When the flesh came away from the spirit, the particular personal being holds back. Let the body, as non-judgmental as a hotel bed, contain these travelers. In a red transient nightgown or astral call, you are still divided from me at the instance of our arrival. Drain. It is good to feel every motion as a dry series of codes, to be a flag for nothingness in a purple jacket with black socks that keep falling down, and an arm that lifts, falls, brings to, and puts back. Good to walk in leaves, trashed coffee cups, and shit. Good to be down there. See between the wet grit of the drain a whirlpool of water and grit circling a provisional position in its universe. Good to carry a cell of multicolored substance, chloroplasts, and mitochondria string. To apply for surcease from something invisible, as though a picture forms at its own discretion in the so-called mind, a nebula of impulses that holds between neural pincers a cloudy, dissimulated, polarized brush of gestures, and that is good, and our motions are the generator of traces in the wake of a body that collect like wet lace, like leaves do, caught as they are between the bars. Angel hairs. What are these? Angel hairs? You say autumn spiders, transparent as spit driven by October winds. Flat arachnids, jellyfish of the mind. What is mind? A horizontal disk of iridescent violet, silver, copper, a flake from a giantess's soap that spins off her thought. The climate is a fantastic cloak, and sister storms revolve tonight. Their hems emit electrical fire along the fringes of the universe. Their older brother's father's teeth drip the helix blood in ecstatic doses. In Sunday's cool rectangles read auroras of autumn, hear the Marian antiphons, find a sun the color of old flesh, hidden in a galaxy of dirt and sticks, and she stoops and picks it up, says, "Here, baby, is this yours?" What's early? On any Wednesday now, the dark comes early, though who's to say anymore what's early? Anything green that remains, lurid as gasoline, a lit Christmas bulb's curved, broken horizon. Apparently, each day of the week is a projected shine, inked plate and letterpressed page, a muddy book found on the ground by a foraging foot that kicks open the day's dictionary, in which outrance, dice, and divine of the sky are found. Words like black passages, each a tight ball. You stand in a dream and try to call, until Wednesday flies over. It's morning now. Something cranks, yields. Our albino corn experiment has grown. Outside, surprise, it's nearly white today, and early is late in relation to the utter, lost, last, moonlit lavender ray. Inhabited nothingness chair for Charlotte Mandel. In the square of my white notebook, girded by girded by blue lines the faint color of a ghost. The structure of a moving hand tries to stuff a letter in each box, as though it were a demented shadow who pushes mail through a grate into slots that imperceptibly tighten. I am going to write of silence, as the poet wrote, to unite with nothingness, nothing engenders nothing. Like a baby who sees a rustle in the air, a scattering now, nothing withdraws. I sense its waking hush, an extraction, its coldest self abstract as a frozen gray wash rag, fluffiness all over the air. 5 letters, second letter R, says a disembodied voice. Where do you get that H from, sky? Who are these mad oracles from the beyond? I'm filling in my boxes, girls. I want to cry, don't interfere. The perpetual emptiness of writing, he wrote, I write, through a collage of spatters and gush of foam froths and the suck of an opening door. There's also a gray plastic bucket in the light. There are 5 orange chairs that face away. The chairs are empty, oh God, with no one here the room is full. The coffee in the cup is present in the throat. And when I look at the inhabited nothingness chair, I see you, absent. Thick. Dear Lynn, today rustles with branches of veins that shed their packages along the way to some larger artery, thickened with inherent substances that dry in November, and you can see the broken blue willow plate there and some other stuff, abandoned objects encrusted with leaves and stalks of dead grass, and all the garbage we discarded when the water flowed. Today shatters with splinters of something thrown from the platform of its origins towards space which all day encases us, fragilely and transparently. Obdurately, we make gestures within its mantle to one another, like sign language. Brim. The tapestry of this purple mash calls into its swirled mesh as the shapeless ball that hangs in air, an explosive packet, testicular, filled to the brim, a lacy bracket. She takes from it an instrument, her very own kit, but as everyone knows, it's a kit that no one can own. It's only a loan. Meanwhile, I write with a restless hand, take up one pen, then another, as each a leaky gland. Actually, I'd like to cry. Come play with us, someone, a voice says somewhere, invisible as dust. I'll play, okay, as tears become protozoa, then sperm, then burn, tendrils of a fire that flick on a stranger's psychedelic, discarded bag of tricks. Abacus. In the garage, the passageway to the fix-it shop, a teenage boy sitting on a swivel chair in the dark, pointed to the piles, the debris, the golden treasure. With my girlfriends, I set to delimiting the utterances, I mean the discarded classifications. We found polyurethane receptacles, encrusted framings for shells and shit, a photograph of a palm, a red wagon, a dark brushing gesture of a woman's arm. The hieroglyphics on the backpack were shellacked as a secret, minutely transforming alphabet. The springing, slender letter A, a prong bent to the earth, holds a tension all these centuries not to release. He said between bites of his bologna sandwich, "So what are you all looking for?" And I said, "It all depends, for whatever I could fix on that's not yet fixed shifts back to the shadows, its fractures insistently intact, and every opalescent letter, repaired, renewed in use, shimmers on the wand of an abacus, contained in promise, undisclosing of the core. If I put my hand to the beads of its machine, I'll go in there also, hidden in the mess of the calculation, scribbled by the transmitting numerals of the words' equivalencies, and slide along the track, shot from the dark of its transactions into the bright complications of the fix-it shop on the other side. And when I woke, I realized that the abacus and the backpack and some other stuff had come back also, and if you come over, I'll show them to you." Rouge. Silver, somehow, is rink and dink near the moon. I saw crimson, yellow, and fog, a white at the inner of green, an apple gone wet, a Cassius blue of the upper atmosphere, near the universal black. The skin of an olive, as thick as my grandmother's raggedy sealskin jacket. A black sweater's sparkling buttons at night, efflorescent like the sea. What color is a mouth? An underside of blue, in the 50s called hydrangea, but lips may be the color of almonds or hazelnut in blue, in blue threads, persistent enough to be red. Sgraffito scrapes wax from color, night from day, with a thin finger at dawn, until the color of the rain, which everyone knows but is unknown, saturates a room, and colors emerge tiredly, and a scarf is too orange, rouge, and blatant this morning, separates from its body, in the way a wave carries a glassy echo away from the deep, or wool shreds from the bulk, or you find a hair in a book, its colorless string haunts. A teal coat seen from the window is inhuman without the body, and the red brick of a building with white clay lines is terribly sad. So I'll read some poems from Saley, earlier book. Let's see here. Does anybody know how to pronounce that word? Every time I read the poem, I think I mispronounce it differently. Sgraffito, process of scraping away the black crayons until you see the colors underneath. It's a wonderful concept. For Chuck. Space times action for Chuck Stein. Comes so late to any optimism, thin as a red scarf, thin as water, pours off into the lap of prayer, an arena of sparkling non-matter, luxuriantly figurines surround and compress, a diametric soliloquy and fancy dolorous lilies. No minaret could hover as amply, a cap of nothing, whorls of pink stars ignite, fissures, pulverize echoes, alphabet sparkling clusters, with my stupid hands on their slippery boxes, the universe cavorts thus. Rhinecliff Station again. Oh no, actually I wanted to read the Rhinecliff Hotel poem, and then I'll read this one. The Rhinecliff Hotel. Coffee and milk, the hand's undulating flight, AM late summer light, presides, withdraws, shifts, lets the harvest down. Each orange marker a ping-pong of doubt, insurces in the wake of all pendulums. Anticipated trawls, the overturned alphabets, oblong stationary held in reserve. You could say preserves, and all of this interval by the station, silence increased. Rhinecliff Station again. The rejoinder that only fits a dry red lip, the ghosts in the cobwebbed hotel flit, are only snow and ice, lace and flies, of course, yet durable as a horse's thighs, as though a place truly exists or could be approached because a conductor insists, says it's there or here, or was just clearly clear, yet now is moving away from definition. Its intuition becoming past, eluding location as a frozen hunk of ice on the Hudson merges with the horizon, yet is erupted and sheaved and sharp to hungry fingers of the art of what I do not know, only that the ice will come to flow, only heard its lonesome trembling horn that seemed to announce something's dissolving, becoming form. River Road alternate for Susan Quasha. I thought I saw a giant skull, Susan, behind the trees, or within, actually fiery red and black, made of your sunset and spaces in between. Maybe it was a momentary perception, a sighting that quivers, dry as November leaves, and gelid as the stuff over the eyeball, a sort of pond beyond the presence, whatever it was that I think you could see through. I'd like to read a poem, kind of call it out to Lynn Barrett, who encouraged me to explore these wild vocabulary lists that she knows about. So I had a lot of fun with that. Glass of an hour, and this is from my book, The Practice of Residue. Glass of an hour. Pertaining to uncles, this matter is of early local bishops, that is, unpolished, ashy, spoken secretly, as the word avuncular seems to suggest jokes at breakfast half forgotten. Yet the bishop returns, as refraction, the plowed land passed in a car in Georgia, the honeycomb of a dream in which everything lost returns in a new form, a verdigris of old buildings in Brooklyn, washed in rain that green is the inside of a calyx. Followed the dog star all winter, our eyelids thick figs, fleshy cup of the honeysuckle plant. In twilight, super abnormal perceptions act up, dove-colored afternoon. I have been at the crossroads crying for the Dauphin of France, having turned away from useful knowledge or its citizens. Palindrome, to see the whetstone finally. The whitish color of the deacon's leg has a leathery appearance. Puncture the skin and find 12 stone fruits, the sublime embossing of desire. Such atmosphere conditions my elegies, banquets, and charity. Ivy-colored as a jellyfish, these letters pertain to lightning. Spongy, galactic, the west wind comes. Undressing is like carving due to the earth's rotation. The cable of my arms attached to forceps opens the window. Tricky yesterday, the period between sleep and wakefulness. The glass of an hour, the drowsy lobsters of alchemy. Inscribed on thin plates, the larval matrix, your aunt, is divinely inspired also in the morning. The Mallow family of spiritualists commands the mistletoe, welding slugs to get to the broth, rhyming 3 syllables with the morsel of the mucus that is the cutting edge of the knife, the spinal cord of the nacreous, the knitting of moss-like flaxen memory. My birthday came and went, a vast period of embryonic siege. I derived oil in the high-temperature hospital. With threads suffused my number 9 stepmother, the master teacher along the female line, who commands the hand to the back of the neck, makes bread from poppies, existence from names, anatomical walls, edible songbirds, the scrotum, asteroids, the ordeal. Near the midriff, the underground water, the speech, the longitudinal nightingale, the comb-like sounds issued in flying nets, the inveterate corner of the mouth. People walk, the measure of time, the joint effect of sun and saliva. And dark rooms persist as scriptoria serum, the sisters pertaining to caves, the surface of the earth, sweat glands, the extravagance of antimony. Sometimes I can't make much direction at the conjunction of surnames, the cobbling of amber to figures, antidotes to a thesis derived from yew trees, a quicksand of random events, like pillars in crepuscular time and space, the pulse of atoms, cubic capacity of the voice. My dirge belongs to a proverb, results from singing a chain of eclogues in the dice game of the whirlpool. Let me take a sip of water. I'm going to read poems from Calcionatio. This is the new little book. When I jumped into the movie, I left my shoes on the floor. Something like Alice in Wonderland, but less lateral, more electronic and immersed in the bulging white screen, or was it an inverse pool? The particles of a shadow on a blue willow plate, where within its perimeter a woman guides an ox. A hand inside a sepia crocheted glove. Who is eating this uneasy abstract food? Who fingers the refracted sheen of an invisible cloth? The air is made of polka dots, the bent hypnotus of the sun, in the semi-industrial area of a thought. In the mechanics of the frosted morning light, her golden fox stole and deep red lipstick, red as religion, archaic as smut, seems frescoed, hand-drawn. I wonder if this is my unknown grandmother, but whose grandmother is known anyway? In the collapsed linearity of a Kodak black and white, something smells like Vicks, moths, and hair. Are you far from home, someone asks? From the folds of elapsed space, the less visible the thing is, and the radiating light of a brain gives dimensionality and form to the fused hydrogens of a comb, a chair, a spoon, the way an ice cube locks in a negative, throws itself off in the chamber of its unfolding. I lost my poems in LaGuardia Airport. I lost my poems in LaGuardia Airport in a dark blue paper folder of reservations, correspondence, and maps, along with a biography of William Blake and where to go to ride a horse. My poems fell through a crack between there and a waiting room in a glass hallway, and the two dark suitcases and the sun, which hung on extravagantly at the verge of a graphic horizon's smoking apparition. After I lost my poems, night remained lit as day. A white mattress cartwheeled across the highway like a message board. In the rocky enclosure, a leopard stalked a few of us who were walking around there. When I looked down his throat, it was empty. We tobogganed down several hallways until I went through a wall, and it was the 19th century in winter. Marcella Durand was wearing a wool cape. We rode in a carriage very fast over ice up a rough mountain path. I am looking for my notebook. I am looking for a notebook. It's brown, the color of the sky. Most of the pages have no words written on them. The last person who may have seen it was Mr. Ravindra Singh. He drives a yellow car in the 21st century. Please call me if you know him. Miel de lavanda. Honey lavender. Whatever is sticky sticks to the tongue, and a fly might like to traffic there, foraging for something to take away, such as a lie, which leaves the dust lavender makes all over the pillowcase when it's crushed inadvertently, dispelling distinctions of usage and form, so that a Victorian medicinal aroma clouds a room, and we stay there, sucking our tongues in dirty, compressed clothing in the flattened quiet of August. Large as dragonflies, we pilgrims who come upon the penitent mountains at sunset and taste an extraction as a tint that runs through a rock, a silver violet shadow that eludes everything solid. This vaunted world. Here in the tangle of this vaunted world, one already doubts. Not vaunted, but here, as we know or apprehend or suspect erratically the transience of the validity of a location which could just as much be a blazing hole of light in the overall gauzy mesh curtain of a realm that spins multidimensionally, as though the ceiling of Grand Central Station were a description of a fact, and one could transpire, and is doing so every instant, to transgress the constellations which stand gigantically in the air as raging constant events encompassing our subsets, the brackets of an equation of a universal greenish curved page it will take your whole life to read. One more poem. Empty Sleeve, for Robert Kelly. If your silence wraps the chilly hour of 7 a.m. in tints of violet and gray and silver, then the sound of breathing as I walk intrudes. Silence plus thought, pink cherry blossoms plus cigarette smoke, blue cement under brown shoe. I still feel hope, which is a concentrated aquamarine, the variegated water the fish is placed within on a mosaic on a wall. Still, yet representing motion. Or maybe the glittering segments lock the creature in. Is it Christos? I don't know why you don't write or call. Same as him who says, I am here, I am with you. But where? Always ahead and behind, just seen by guys up the road who told a story last night in the bar. It's the fragment held by a few threads to the larger body of the Gnostic cloth that I remember this morning as though the essential passage What you meant for me to know is the empty sleeve, the color of reddish early dirt, someone's small garden in the shadow as I pass by. Thank you.